we have similar views too about the sort of divide and overlap with this sort of spiritual woo-woo stuff, and then also science, where it's like it's not good to necessarily lean on one single way of looking at the world. There's got to be some marriage of these things and understanding kind of their place. And we also have overlap in reading some of Joe Dispenza's work. And you particularly are reading Becoming Supernatural right now. Have you finished it, or you're in the middle of it?
I'm about halfway through.
Got it. And so, and you mentioned too the quantum field, like he talks about too. So in regard to medical issues too, like this idea that sicknesses and illnesses can be spiritually healed and dealt with and causal. I agree with that, and I feel that there is this give and take where it's like it's not all spiritual and it's not all chemical scientific either. Absolutely. And so there's this weird sort of relationship with this subjective and metaphysical reality of like the story we tell, and like to do meditations that are chakra focused, it's about putting your attention on this conceptual idea of chakra, and you're thinking about your throat. You're putting your metaphysical mental energy into this place and allowing for the natural balance of existence and whatever you want to say the power of the universe and the oneness of everything is, for that attention to harness that power and put it there to heal. And so it's what I'm curious about, and what I'm fascinated with, is this balance of like, obviously we've learned through a lot of Joe Dispenza stuff, and I'm sure plenty of other places of information, that this metaphysical and attention energy kind of thing can be super powerful, perhaps even more powerful than the objective measurable physical reality. But like, what role do you feel that the physical reality and the scientific plays in terms of like, do you feel that you could just, like diet, for example, do you feel that you could just eat a bunch of bullshit and then never exercise and just be bad to your body? But if you have just an amazing spiritual practice, like you can just be in peak physical condition? Or is there some kind of balance to strike there?
I definitely do not believe that. I think balance for sure. But I think you're completely right about marrying the two together. And I think to have that beautiful synergistic balance, that there does need to be a healthy mix of both. Because, I mean, look at some of the leading causes of death in America. You can be the most fit person in the entire world, but if you're like disturbingly, morbidly stressed out, are you going to be healthy? Are you going to be fit or healthy fit? You know what I mean? So I do think that there does just need to be such a balance of both. Absolutely.
Yeah. See, part of me, I think where the Joe Dispenza literature has led me to believe, and where it's really changed my mind, because this is me coming from a place like, my spiritual arc is basically raised in a Christian family where it's not very prominent. Like, we don't talk about it too much. My grandfather's pretty obsessed with, not obsessed, but he likes going to church. My grandma supports it. My mom's kind of passive about it. And then around 6th grade, then I got introduced to the idea of atheism and other religions. It's like, well, they can't all be right, and so they must all be wrong. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm an atheist now. So then I kind of went through that all the way to somewhere towards the end of college, and just had this awakening, and it was synonymous with this introduction to suddenly being interested in reading a bunch of things and taking in all sorts of philosophical and scientific information, and starting a meditation practice and being fascinated with the mystery of consciousness and understanding God as a more abstract concept rather than this man in the clouds, and me being like, okay, now I feel like I'm open to some sort of pantheist type thing where it's like there's some fundamental truth that all religions are kind of pointing to, but with different rhetoric.
Absolutely.
And where Joe Dispenza's come in, like, this is years later, and I mentioned briefly to you on the phone the other day about this psychotic break I think I had.
Yes.
And I think that there were physical elements which I think destabilized the mental, spiritual, and physical system of me. Mm-hmm. And then there was this more powerful metaphysical thing going on in relation to self-talk and the story and ideas I had in my head that I think just set off like an amygdala, like fear response of like just perpetual anxiety attack punctuated by these extreme panic attacks and this feeling that I was having heart problems and all sorts of stuff. And it lasted for a good month and it just kind of like veered off. It was a slow recovery.
Wow.
But in that period, I found Joe's work and I read You Are the Placebo. And what he talks about in there, and also what he talks about in Becoming Supernatural, is this quantum field, this metaphysical space that is beyond the physical, beyond the material. Mm-hmm. You're no one, no place, nowhere, no time. Mm-hmm. The power that comes out of that field when you can tap into it and like break down the illusion of reality and then consciously and creatively rebuild a new, more functional, positive version of it. Yeah. The impact of that, it makes me believe as preposterous as it sounds to give yourself a bullshit diet and not do things that are physically good for your health, it has led me to believe there are cases where people are so tapped in to that metaphysical side of things, they actually can get away with really skipping over a lot of the physical elements of taking care of yourself and be so powered by their mind and spirit.
I absolutely agree with that. And what I was thinking, like, I didn't want to come off as I ever want to define health standards for anybody in particularly, because I know, my health standards with my own autoimmune issues myself and everything. But let's take, his name is Israel. It's the guy that wrote and sings Over the Rainbow.
Okay.
He's a larger man and he has one of the best songs of all time. And he did what he needed to do. He had an idea and he insisted, he's like, I have to record this today. And he did his thing. And now we listen to his song for decades thereafter. And, that type of music, that doesn't come from someone that doesn't believe in themselves or isn't right with them. It isn't healthy in the mind, or maybe he isn't, doing or wasn't doing that well. What I'm trying to get at is I don't think that there are these like definitive standards for people. And I think that if you feel healthy and you feel good mentally, I don't think that people need to go after one particular standard or one wholeness or one diet of everything is a one size fits all. I think.
Well, let me kind of clarify something too. I think what I'm pointing at is, because the way I see these things, and the way I even see concepts like God or any religion, or viewing the world through the lens of astrological signs and these kinds of things, and even the story of meditation and the mystery of consciousness. These are all things that we point to. They're concepts that we point to and conceptualize with words and thinking. And one thing that I feel like a lot of the meditative philosophy does in this meta way is point to the illusion of all that, and that there is this sort of unknowable, you can't put it into words, oneness that we all share. I think physics will refer to it as the unified field, and that's where you're transcending to in transcendental meditation. But to me, and that's where like the complete unegoic self lies, the non-material, the Joe Dispenza quantum field, no thing, nowhere thing. And I think what I'm pointing to is we are humans. We have egos. We are operating in the physical world. And the way that we do that, the way that we see it and from a subjective individual point of view, the way we put everything into context is in a story. And I think what I'm suggesting is that no matter what sort of ideology that story is nested in or influenced by, whether it be political ideology, religious ideology, philosophical ideology, if it's a good story that empowers you psychologically, emotionally, the effects of it are profound on the effect that you have on yourself and the world around you.
Yeah.
And so I think you definitely agree with me on this, that a lot of people have a problem of telling a bad story. One that does the opposite, one that really stresses them out.
Yeah.
You know, like you know damn well that the story we tell will affect our cortisol and hormones and stuff and stress, and the stress will kill us perhaps more so than a poor diet or anything, you know? Yeah. It will cause us to not be able to sleep, and bad sleep will damage us really bad. There's a lot of things there, but
absolutely.
Yeah. So to tell a story that diminishes stress response and what's there's like the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. I can't remember which is which, but the good one.
Yeah.
When you have a story that activates the one that expands and generates health in the body, rather than the one that deteriorates and retracts and pushes it towards death.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely there. And I think what I was trying to get at earlier, but it just wasn't getting out in the correct manner, is that it's not for me in this lifetime to define or measure someone's happiness based on their physical health, because their mental health is something that I cannot see. But no, I agree with you. The science, and this is where, you know, the science and the spirituality, they go hand in hand, but focusing on the science there of everything that you just said, you're absolutely right about, you know, stress and sleep and all of the things kind of contributing to how we feel. But it totally is the story that we choose to hone in on and focus on. And that story is the story that wherever we put our focus, that becomes our reality. And another interesting point going off of that, in Joe Dispenza's book, he talks about, in Becoming Supernatural, he talks about people being completely unaware of the addictions that are brought on by their stories that they choose to tune into every day. You know, your addiction of stalking your ex, your addiction of resentment to someone that has more than you, or your addiction to getting in the car and having road rage, like these same things, these same stories that you're outliving every day, because that's the story that you're choosing to focus on, you're choosing to tap into, and you're not embracing the unknown. And that's probably, in my opinion, probably one of the hardest things for people when they're first getting into meditation and, you know, wanting to see a shift in their reality, wanting to see that change, because we are the creators of our life. So you should absolutely want more and want better for yourself than that same negative bullshit story that you're tapping into every day, that you're going home at night. That you're going home at night and you're feeling drained. You're not feeling invigorated by life. Like I always say, you should feel happy at least 4 out of the 7 days of the week, because if you're happy only 3, the other 4 are outweighing the negative, are outweighing the positive. You know, you should be happy majority of the week. So what stories do you need to let go of? What mentalities, what mindsets, what perceptions do you need to just release? And that goes into what you just said about, you know, becoming, how did you say it again? Becoming nothing, like...
becoming nothing, or no one, nowhere, no time. That's Joe Dispenza's words.
Nowhere, no one, no time. You know, that's creating happens when you tap into and invite the unknown. Like, you know, I say, I want $1 million this year. am I going to sit here and define, this is how I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get it from a lottery ticket, or I'm going to get it this way, blah, blah, blah. No, I say, I want $1 million this year. I'm going to have $1 million this year. This $1 million already exists to me. It's already mine. And now I invite the abundance into my life. I invite the unknown experiences of how this is going to happen. I'm open to it all. It's that feeling of being open. And, and that goes into, neuroplasticity and just, kind of creating different slopes and grooves in your train of thought to, ski down every day, rather than taking the same blue slopes. Take the black ones today.